Hi, if you're new here, my name's Sam, and welcome to the channel. I'm honored to be your yoga teacher today and guide you through this restorative practice. So we're going to spend all of our time on our bottom today. We're not going to use any props. We're going to work on some hip opening, some forward folds, spending a little longer in poses, chance to slow down your breathing, slow down your mind, close the eyes, prepare your body for either the day ahead activity or rest. In essence, this practice is great any time of the day. So as always, when you're ready, we'll get right into it. So we'll start our practice in a toe sit. Sitting your bum back towards your heels, and we'll tuck the toes under. Now, if your pinky toes are a little bit smaller, you might need to use your index fingers to manually tuck those toes under. So this right here can be uncomfortable for some, but in my opinion is one of the most important stretches to do, especially as soon as you get out of bed. You spend so much time on your feet all day, and it's very rare we give the toes a chance to stretch out like this. So if you can, stick with it. We're only going to hold this for a minute. So let your shoulders draw back. Let either your palms face up if you're feeling comfortable, or palms face down if you need some extra grounding. And when you're ready, we'll be here just for 60 seconds. Now, along the way, you may start to feel uncomfortable. There may be this feeling of frustration starting to build. Just know that this won't last forever. And then if this is the most uncomfortable thing you do all day, then what a fantastic day you're setting yourself up for. Let's be here for another 30 seconds. Let your breath be calm, your breath be steady. Breathing in and out through your nose. And here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and on 1. Just untuck your toes. Sit your hips back towards your heel. So immediately you're going to feel a sense of relief, especially down the front of the shins and the top of the ankle. So I encourage you to stay right here if you want to, or if you feel you have a little more room, just set your fingertips either side of your thighs. We're going to lean just back into that right leg and see if you can lift the right knee off the floor. I won't be there for too long. Just trying to counteract that toe sit we just came out of. Then you can set your right knee down. Just lean back into that left leg. Let the left knee lift up for just a moment. And already the legs are starting to feel a little more awake. We've got a strong flexion through the knee joint. We've allowed the toes to wake up. We've gotten a stretch through the front of the shins. So already we've given ourselves a big head start. So from here we'll set our hips onto the floor, and we'll take our right leg and extend it. And if you can, bring the sole of your left foot just inside your right thigh. So if you have a little more space, you could lift your hips and slide your hips forward slightly so that the heel of the left foot almost sits right up near the pelvis. If that's uncomfortable for you, of course you move it back a bit. So find a space that works for you. We're going to turn our torso gently over the right thigh. Keep a little bit of activity in the right foot, not too much. Use your fingertips either side of that right leg. Take an inhale. As you exhale, we'll work to fold. So I'm a big proponent in keeping stretches active and using muscular strength, but for today we are looking for a little bit more of that restorative nature. So if you want, you could let your right foot just fall out towards the right hand side and be nice and heavy there. When you're ready, let the head drop nice and heavy. And again, we'll be here just for 60 seconds. So see if you can encourage a little bit of natural rounding in your spine. We want to find a little bit of this flexion, and this is going to help just to give you some length through the muscles that run up either side of the spine, the erector spinae. And letting the head drop nice and heavy will just intensify that stretch all the way up through the back of the neck, into the base of the skull as well. If there's space, maybe your forehead could even rest on your knee. And of course, if you had the space, you could catch hold of your right foot if you wanted to take it just a little bit further. Again, this can be as restorative or as active as you want it to be. We're here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, on 2, take a full breath in. On 1, we release. Slowly start to lift your torso upright. Take a moment here with a long spine, and then we're going to move this left shin just parallel with the top edge of your mat. So it'll start to move out in front of you just a little bit, and if we can, we'll take this right shin and cross it in front of the left. So essentially you're trying to parallel your shins to the best of your ability, flexing the feet there if you can. So we're creating this box-like quality to the legs. Now, if you had a pillow or a bolster or a rolled up blanket, you could put it underneath your hips here just to give you a little more height if you're feeling exceptionally tight. This one I find is really intense in the outer hips, especially when you enter into the forward fold. So you can stay upright if you want to, or if you want to work towards the fold, have the fingertips out in front of you, pull your shoulders back, lift the chest, take a breath, then exhale, work to find your extension of the pose. Maybe forearms rest down onto the floor. Maybe you have a yoga block or something you like to pop underneath your head, or maybe you just allow your head to drop here. So a lot of the time, sitting in these poses for longer amounts of time becomes not just a physical challenge, but a mental challenge as well. The chatter in the mind will start to intensify. Maybe the stress, frustration, the tension will start to build. This just gives us an opportunity to concentrate on our breathing. I know we refer to the breath so much in the yoga practice it almost sounds redundant, but it is super duper important. So, full inhale. Just taking another 20 seconds here. Take one last full breath. And mindfully walking your hands back towards you, taking a moment again there with a nice long spine. And then we'll take this left leg, extend it out towards the left hand side slightly. Sole of the right foot's going to rest inside your left thigh. Again, if you want to, you could lean your hips forward just slightly so that the heel of that right foot moves a little closer towards the pelvis. This again is just going to give you that stretch in the front of the shin and the top of the foot, if that's what you're after. It is a little stronger on the knee joint, so just be mindful of that. Turn our torso over towards that left leg, fingers either side. Take an inhale. And then exhale, start to walk yourself forward. Find a depth and a fold, a variation of the pose where you feel comfortable, where you're able to potentially drop your head, and if it's possible, even close your eyes there. And encouraging a little bit of that natural flexion through the spine, a little bit of rounding. If there's space, like we did on the previous side, if you could catch your left foot here if it was available for you. Just taking another 20 seconds here in your posture. And variation of Janu Shashasana or head to knee pose. Take a final in-breath. Let it all go. And slowly beginning to rise. And already you can feel how moving slowly and spending time in the postures is really a lot more restorative. I know for myself I'm feeling great. I wish I could stay here forever. We're going to cross this right shin parallel to the top edge of the mat, so it'll move away from your body. And then left shin is going to work its way in front of it. So imagine that you were trying to get your left heel to rest underneath your right knee. Now that may not be available right now. If it's in front, it doesn't matter at all. You can lift your bottom and lower it back down so the hips feel like they're nice and even. Sitting bones are grounded onto the earth. And again, the choice is yours. You can stay upright here if you like, or you can work towards that fold. Take an inhale. Exhale, we'll move forward in some capacity. Give yourself an opportunity to relax here. Getting into the outer hips, into the glutes. Allowing the head a chance to drop. And seeing if you can settle in here. See if potentially you can bring your awareness just to the sound of your breathing. And notice if the longer you sit in the posture, does that breath sound more agitated? Does it sound like the volume is increasing? Or are you able to keep the same gentle flow of breathing? The calm, rhythmic breaths in which you started practice with. Take a long inhale here. And then gently, we begin to rise. So we have one more forward fold here before we move towards some more front body opening postures. So I encourage you just to straddle your legs out here. A width that's comfortable. You don't want them to really blast out so there's no chance for you to fold forward. You want it to feel reasonably comfortable here. You might like to bend the knees if you have those pillows or rolled up towels. You might like to pop underneath the knees if the hamstrings are really, really tight. Sitting bones evenly grounded. Chest will rise, take an in-breath. Exhale, work to find some variation of a fold. A space where you feel comfortable. Again, the stretch can be as active or as passive as you would like. I know for myself, today I'm going for a more restorative variation. So in the classical Upavishta Konasana, which is the shape we're creating here, I'll be pressing my heels out to either side, flexing the feet and really working to straighten the legs. Pulling the shoulders back, sending the chest forward. So far more active, whereas today I'm encouraging a little more rounding through the spine, encouraging the head to drop and letting the feet just sort of do their thing. Bonus points if you can find a space to rest your head, whatever that is for you. Yoga block, towel, blanket, pillow, arms, doesn't matter. Just so the neck isn't doing too much work. here. Just 10 more seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Use your hands, start to walk them back towards your body. Slowly we'll lift the chest. Nice work. You might like to use your hands here underneath your knees just to bring your legs together. And if we can, we'll just rinse out the hips from side to side. So if you rest your hands behind your hips here for a moment, flex the feet so the heels are grounding down, and just start to move the legs from one side to the next. Just finding some natural internal and external rotation through the hip joint, just to allow a little bit of blood, a little bit of movement, a little bit of energy to flow back towards those hips, especially after being in those stagnant poses for a little while longer. After you've made your way through a few rounds on either side, we're going to sit the hips back towards the heels. Toes are going to stay untucked. And if we can, we'll just find an upright seat for a moment. Now, this is where I would suggest if you had a bolster or a pillow and you wanted something underneath your hips, you could take your feet a little bit wider and rest that pillow underneath your hips, just so your hips have a little bit of support they can lift up. If it was comfortable for you to take your feet wider than your hips here and let your hips drop down towards the floor for a Virasana setup, you could let that happen. If it feels like the knees are falling in towards each other, lift the hips, spin the calf muscles out, and gently lower back down. So your knees are moving towards each other, your feet are a little bit wider here. Get comfortable there for a moment. We are going to work just to lengthen through the front of the hips. Now, we're not going to be in this shape for as long because it is a little bit intense, I know, especially for myself. So you can stay upright if that's comfortable for you. If there's space, you could walk your hands back slightly and maybe work towards lowering onto your forearms. Hands could hold onto the feet here. And if this is enough for you to get a little more opening through the hips, you could flex into your glutes and just think about pressing your pelvis away from the mat. So you're just lifting the front of the hips towards the ceiling for a moment. You could let the hips lower down. If there's space, imagine you are trying to get your entire spine flat onto the mat, or again, if you have that pillow or blanket underneath you, that might be comfortable for you. If you feel the knees lift up off the mat, you've gone a little bit too far, you can always come back out. You want the knees to stay grounded here. And again, if there's space, you could squeeze the glutes, just see if the pelvis could start to lift slightly. Really going to be here for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, for 5, 4, 3, 2, take a full inhale. Exhale, we'll let it go. To bring yourself back up, I like to hold on to the shins here or the ankles, press into the elbows, lift the head, and start to lift yourself up. One hand will press behind you, then the other. Then use your fingertips here to lift, ground down one foot, followed by the next, and allow your hips to rest down. Extend the legs for a moment, give them a chance to shake out. I know the knees feel a little bit stiff after that one, so just give them a little chance to shake out here. We're just going to finish off with a bridge pose, getting the legs ready to do whatever you need them to do. If that's to start your day, maybe you're taking this practice in the morning, then fantastic. If you're about to get ready to go to bed, this is also a fantastic posture. So we'll come on down onto the back. As we do, we want the feet to be nice and close towards the hips, so maybe you catch hold of your ankles as you lower down. Setting the feet under the knees, allowing the head to rest, and then driving your elbows down alongside your body as we work to lift the hips. If there's space, shoulder blades hug back towards each other a little more. See if we can rise a fraction higher here. Now you could take an interlace of the hands behind the back if that's what you were after today. Give yourself a little bit of a stretch across the front of the chest, the shoulders, and even into the arms. If you're looking for a more restorative option, you could take your thumbs to support the top of your glutes with the forefingers around the outside of your hips. We'll Alternatively, if you had a yoga block, you could put that underneath your sitting bones just to give you that little more of a restorative option. If the hands are underneath the glutes, see if you can wiggle your elbows a little closer towards each other. Feel supportive, like those hands are really holding onto your hips. And if you've got that block, if you've got the hands underneath the hips, maybe play with just extending one leg for a moment. Just see what that feels like. Then bring the leg back. Try the other. So just a chance to lengthen through the front of the hip, lengthen through the leg. Then we'll bring the hips back. Take one last breath, lift high. And exhale, we'll lower down. Take the hands to the knees, bring the knees in towards the chest. Just give yourself a little chance for the hips to move from side to side. And again, whether you're starting your day or ending your day, it's always great to find a twist. So take your arms out super wide, let your hips shift towards the right hand side of your mat, and then cross your right leg all the way over your left, and allow your knees to fall off towards the left hand side of the room. So working to readjust here. So both of your shoulder blades stay grounded on the mat, arms spread out nice and wide. And we'll take a minute here in this posture. If we could, 30 minutes would be great. But just for time's sake, maybe you've got a life and you have somewhere to be. We'll be here for a minute. If you want to feel a little more into your right glute and a little more length through the low back, you could bring those knees a little closer up towards your left arm there. And really spreading your arms out to help both of those shoulder blades stay grounded if they can, just to help support the upper back and feel a little more of that twist through the spine. Let your gaze lift up towards the ceiling. Take one last breath. And gently unravel your legs first. So you bring your hips back to center. This time hips will move a little more towards the left-hand side of your mat. We'll cross left leg all the way over the right, and then allow your knees to fall to the right-hand side of the room, readjusting so that you work to get both of the shoulder blades on the ground or close towards. Finish the twist, you could turn your gaze towards your left hand. If that feels like it's too much right now, you could just gaze up towards the ceiling so the back of your head is rested on the mat. Like we did on the previous side, if you wanted to feel just a little more into that left glute, a little more into the low back, you could bring those knees up a little closer towards your right elbow there. Taking a final breath here. And gently unraveling your legs. Bring the knees in towards the chest for a moment. Give them a little hug. And if you can, as little momentum as possible, just rock yourself up towards a seat. So hopefully feeling a little more space in the inner, the outer hips, a little more length through the low back. And with that extra time, just closing the eyes, focusing on your breath, hopefully feeling a little more relaxed too. As always, I thank you so much for practicing. If you have any requests for further videos or Any comments or questions, just leave them down below and I'll get back to you on the ASAP. Otherwise, thanks so much for practicing. See you again soon. Peace.